just believe in the power of healing and restoration. And I know that if we can just come together and speak about the hard things, we can finally begin to heal. So, this is where we heal.
We are here with another episode of This Is Where We Heal. I am Ashley Taylor-Maland, your host, and today I have my favorite couple, Phil and Victoria Clemens. Phil is a pastor at Faith Church he has been pastoring there for, Phil?
I was a volunteer youth pastor for like 6.5 years, and I've been on staff for probably 14.
Wow. And then Victoria, his wife, and he actually met at this church.
Yes.
But their story is really incredible, and that is why we're here, and that is why I have them on here today to get their amazing love story, but also to get some wisdom about relationships and interracial relationships for that matter, and the things and the challenges that you guys have faced that other couples may not even have ever, dealt with. But I still think they're relevant to just love and marriage and relationship and all of those things today.
Yeah, for sure.
So the first thing I want everyone to hear is your story, how you met, because that's one of my favorite stories. And then, and also, if you're still listening here, they also have a podcast called Love Encompassed, where you guys actually do tell your story and you talk about different things with your marriages and your struggles and the things you're working through and all of that good stuff, which is so good. So if you aren't subscribed to them, go subscribe. You can find them on Instagram as well.
Yes.
But without further ado, we are going to let them share their story, which is so cute and sweet. And I love hearing it. I've heard it before and I want to hear it again. So
do you want to start it?
You can start.
Okay. So we met at church, which is super, super cliche because I always thought I would never meet whoever I was going to marry at church, because especially the church we were going to, the pool in which to choose from wasn't limited. The strongest.
Yeah.
So,
that's usually the case, if we're being honest here.
Yeah.
It's like when you least expect it when you're not.
Yeah.
But I just remember one day I was like, okay, coming out of the church bathroom, and I remember God put on my heart like, hey, will you be open? I was like, God, what does that mean? Like, okay, yeah, sure. I'm going to be open, whatever that means. And then fast forward, I met Phil at church, but he did not like me the first time we met.
No. I thought she was rude.
Which is so crazy.
And standoffish. No. So I didn't really like her.
Oh my God.
And so, but then what happened is that we lived, at the time, we both lived farther away from the church. So we both lived about 45, 50 minutes from the church. And I got tired of riding by myself. Yeah. And we just, one day, I was like, hey, do you just want to ride together?
So even though you didn't like her, you were like, I guess
we
you're better than
I said, he got a little ahead of the story. So when I found out, because he was also friends with my sister.
Oh.
And so whenever he would talk to my sister, when I would come around, I would notice like he would get quiet. I'm like, what's that about? And so when I said something, that's when, because he would make fun of me and stuff like that. And so I was like, what's good? And then he was like, the first time I met you, I thought you were rude and I don't like you. And I was like, what did I do? And the crazy thing is, I was like, when I met him, I was there to see my sister. Yeah. So when I met him, it was more like, oh, hey, what's up? I told him he was just mad that I just wasn't like, oh my gosh, hi.
Yeah.
But anyways, fast forward. So I was like, you know what? When I found out that he didn't like me, I was like, I'm going to make sure you like me because I'm an awesome person.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so fast forward, he was like, I'm going to call you one day. And I didn't answer. And when I saw him at church again, he was like, hey, I called you. Why didn't you answer? And I was like, oh, nobody really called me like that. So I don't have my phone on me like that. And he said, I'm going to call you every day.
And called her every day.
So when he started calling me every day, we started really developing this great friendship. And that's when we found out, oh, we live like 10 minutes from each other. Hey, do you want to ride home with me? Like, I'll drop you off, right. And I was just like, sure, why? And then from that, oh my gosh, I fell in love with him as a person. Because we had so much fun and we would laugh. And
we just rode together because we were coming to church a lot. We both served at the church. So we were both at church all the time. And then she called me one night. And when we were talking, she said that she was crushing on me.
Yeah.
And I said on a scale of 1 to 10, And she said,
a 9.5,
which is pretty high.
That's real high.
That's close to 10.
That's close
here's
to
It's
the
close
thing.
to 10.
I was very much so anti-dating outside my race.
Oh.
Like, I was very not, and that's probably why looking back, I'm like, that's probably why the Lord was like, hey, will you be open? Because I'm going to send you somebody who is not what you are expecting. And so, and even when we were at church, he'd be like, oh, you look nice. And I'd be like, not interested. And he'd be like, if you ever change your mind, let me know. And I'd be like, I won't.
She would say, I don't date white guys.
Yeah. I was like, I
That's
don't.
what she used to tell
Actually,
me.
I said, I don't do white boys. That's what I said.
That's
I don't do white
And
boys.
then I said, if you ever change your mind, give me a call.
So you were, I mean, she's beautiful. So
Thank
you were
you.
obviously like, I mean, I'm open.
No,
but-
the honestly, I mean, this is the truth. This is what we tell people. We really didn't think about it at the beginning.
So you were more just kinda
we
like-
were best friends.
Yeah.
Like that's what we.
So you weren't, the romantic thing wasn't even like in
we
the
weren't
question.
even thinking about it.
Mm-mm.
We really weren't. It wasn't like some people are like, oh yeah, right. And I joke with her now because she's like, you had no game when we met. And I was like, I had to have some game.
Because here we
because
are.
We're here with
Right.
2 kids. But it really, when we started, we never thought
Honestly.
about it.
And I never saw him that way. And the only reason why I started liking him was from talking on the phone and hanging out and just being around each other. I was like, this is one dope dude. Like, he was just an
Yeah.
amazing human being. And I loved his attentiveness and his thoughtfulness. And he was just so fun to be around.
And he was doing it without any motivation.
Exactly.
Yeah, there
to
was
get
no
any-
motivation.
Right.
to
And so
it.
it's like, I know you're not putting on face
Yeah.
because this is just who you are.
You're not even trying to date me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I wasn't. You know?
Yeah, right,
I think that's what was
right.
helping is we were really seeing the real each other.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There was
We're having
no-
to be anything other
We
than
weren't
you.
trying to put on
Right.
nothing. It was just a real us.
Right. So when I told him, like, and that I feel like that goes to speak to how we weren't seeing each other that way. Because I'm telling this dude, like, I like you. I mean, that may not be a big thing, but it was for me because I didn't really
Right.
share that. And so when I told him, I was so confident that it was a crush that was going to fade. That's the
Right.
only reason why I said anything. Because I was like, ain't that crazy? Like, I think I'm crushing on you. And he was like, on a scale from 1 to 10, I was like a 9.5. Like, that's crazy, right?
It's
And,
killing me. Oh my god.
and it just kind of like,
Yeah. And then it just happened.
yeah.
That
And
is hilarious. So once you said that, were you like, wait a minute, what?
Yeah. It was kind of like once she said it, there's almost like a light switch that goes off, and you're kind of like, yeah, I'd be lying if I didn't kind of feel the same way. And then
and I was like, ooh.
we kind of paused for a sec. We were
Yes,
friends, but then we
yes.
were like, hold on for a second.
Yeah.
Let's
Oh.
make sure that we're not.
Yeah.
Because when I'm telling you, at the end, or we say this now, but it's like we're friends before anything
Mhm.
else. We're like best friends.
Mhm.
So we both paused for a second because
Mhm.
we were kind of like, all right, we don't want to ruin the
Yes,
friendship
Yes.
Yeah.
by doing something that it's
Yeah.
like, oh man, now we ruined this friendship.
Yeah.
But we didn't.
We didn't, and he's right. Like, we didn't. If anything, we took a break. We really didn't talk to each other as much. Like, we went from talking to each other every day to where we stopped talking to each other as much because it was like he's right. We didn't want to muddy the waters. Like, is
Yeah.
this just an emotion that's kind of like
Yeah,
hot right now
yes,
because
yes.
we're always talking to each
Your
other?
serotonin. just
Right.
Kind of, yeah.
Or is this legit? And so we took a break for, oh my gosh, I would say for like at least a month. We really didn't talk to each other. Like maybe a random text.
did that
Here
Or
and
we'd
there.
hurt you
see,
at all?
we'd see each other at church.
Yeah.
Did
And
that
then we'd
not
see
like
each other
hurt your
at
heart a
church.
little bit?
You know, crazy thing is, I'm trying to remember because it's been a minute. I don't feel like it hurt my heart, but I didn't miss him as a friend. Because he was
Yeah.
just, like I said, he's an amazing human being.
Yeah.
And so I missed him as a friend. I missed, because I didn't have anybody in my life like him.
Yeah.
Let alone a friend like him.
Yeah.
And so I missed him as a friend.
But it wasn't in like a, okay.
Like a heartbroken,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so like I don't remember, like I would like say like about 30 days, about a month. And then that's
Yeah.
when you kind of came back around. And I want to say like he was just like, you know, hey, you know, we're just gonna be friends. And I was like, okay, I'm cool with that. We're just gonna
Yeah.
be friends. And then fast forward like a year later, he was praying and he called me because we were still like talking in friendship because we knew like, hey, we're just gonna be friends.
Yeah.
And honestly, as far as like crush or not, it didn't necessarily like fade so much, but I was just like, okay, we're friends.
Yeah.
So my mind just shifted. And
Yeah.
so, like I said, about a year later, and he was praying one day and he called me And because we had just hung out earlier that day, and I had left to go to work, and he called me, and he was like, "How do you know we're not supposed to be together?" And I was like, "What?" He was like, "I'm telling you, just like I know when God told me this, this, and that, you are my wife." And I said, "Well, the Lord ain't said nothing to me." So if it's God today, it'll be God tomorrow. And as far as I'm concerned, we can just still be friends. And he said, "Okay."
Yeah, I was confident.
So, you already knew, but like
I already knew.
You knew God had to show her too.
Yeah.
And yeah. So and then
and then he did. Which
he did.
I knew was gonna happen.
He did through confirmations and different things like that. And I was
How long was the gap there?
Believe it or not, that day. And this is why. Because I came home from work and my mom was like, "God gave me a dream that you and Phil were married and blah, blah, blah." And I was just like, "Okay, Lord, you done said something to him and her, but what about me?" And so what we did was he came over to the house because I called him. I told him, like, "You'll never believe what just happened." And I told him, and he was like, let me come over and let's talk. And so we did. And so I think because like that conversation was made and everything like that, and just the conversation that we had, I was like, okay, let's start dating. Let's do this. And so we did. And while we were dating, I was like, I'm not gonna marry somebody just because he feels what my parent says, right? I have to know for myself. And so I was like, okay, God, like, if this is who I'm supposed to be with, I need you, without a shadow of a doubt, tell me. Because we had both seen so many, like, we come from failed marriage, not we, right, but our parents, didn't have a healthy relationship, and we really didn't have anybody around us that had healthy relationships. So if I'm going to go do this, I want to know.
Yeah. And
so, make a long story short, I remember we were in a room, like at this little gathering or whatever, and he was a ways away from in the room, and I was on the other side. And I just went to look up and look at him. And I just felt like this wash of peace just come over me as I was looking at him. And it was not like oh, I feel calm. It was like I could feel a tangible peace come over me. And in that moment, I was like, I know. And so shortly after, we got engaged.
We got engaged at the end of January, February. And then we were married in July of that same year.
And
because we were like, why are we going to wait?
Yeah,
why
already known each other.
I'm just joking.
Yeah, you've already known each other.
We've already known each other.
Built the foundation already.
Yeah. And so this July will be 19 years that we've been married. And we have two young men, 17 and 15 now. And I can honestly say, like, I thoroughly enjoy being married to you.
It was a lot of fun. I'm glad that you do that.
It's always ideal.
Well, that's what we're here for.
It makes it better.
Better than coming on and being like, I don't know. We'll see how it goes.
I enjoyed this.
Right. So, but yeah. That's so beautiful. I remember the first time we met and we were talking and sharing your story, and we just thought it's just a story. And you were like, "No, my gosh, no, it's beautiful."
It makes me want to cry my eyes out, but in the most beautiful way. Because it's just, you don't get to hear this kind of story very often anymore.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
There's a lot of confusion in the dating world and with people in general when it comes to love and relationship and marriage, and people just are, I think so many people are struggling to connect. So many people are standoffish and scared of relationships for a million different reasons. And, it's finding compatibility is really hard because, mental health is really bad right now. There's just so many facets to it, which is why I wanted you guys to come on here, because you have a good, healthy, solid relationship that hasn't been without trials.
Yeah.
And I also love the fact that a friendship was built first. And I don't think that happens very much anymore with dating culture because of dating sites and things like that. Where I think that's a missing piece.
Yeah. I would agree. Obviously we're not in the dating world anymore, so I can't imagine how hard it is right now. But I do feel like we are fortunate. It's not something we intentionally tried to do, but I'm grateful that it happened, because I do feel like our marriage is as good as it is because we're still good friends. And that was our foundation.
Yeah.
I think too, as it came to, we just accepted each other for who they were. That was it. And when we became such friends, when you're friends with people, you tend to just accept them for, oh man, we're friends. You have no thought of like, I'm gonna date this person later on, you know?
Yeah.
And so I think sometimes when we're talking to single people now, or we're talking to married couples or people that are dating, it's kind of like that. It's like, okay, people have flaws. Everybody has issues. We have issues. That's what we say even on our podcast. Like, we're not experts.
No.
You know what I mean? We have fought before we've shot the podcast. And we're like, is the camera rolling? Now we're friends.
Now we're friends. It's crazy.
So it's just, but we accept each other for who we are.
Yeah.
And even in our disagreements, part of it is, because we said it in the podcast, part of it is personal experience of how I saw my parents sometimes when they would fight, and being like, I don't want to replicate that in my marriage. But also because we do have that foundation, it's like when we do have our disagreements, it's like, okay, we're going to approach this still respectfully. Like, we're not going to yell at each other. We're not going to berate each other. We're not going to disrespect each other. Like, we having a disagreement like anybody would.
Yes, of course.
But let's have a disagreement like an adult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think a huge part of that, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, but like the fact that you did build a friendship first, you like each other outside of the romantic aspect of the relationship.
Yeah.
So like, of course you want to resolve things.
Yeah.
Because whether it was romantic or not, you actually care about him as a human.
Right.
He cares about you as a human.
Right.
You have his best interest, he has yours.
Right.
Either way.
Right.
And I think that's so important.
Right. And before we got married, I remember we sat down and like had our expectations. Like,
Oh, you did?
We did.
Yeah,
we
100%. We talked about everything before we got married.
Everything.
We
what
covered
are those kinds
everything.
of expectations that you had going into this? And what do you think that what kind of expectations should people have going in?
I think you have to lay everything out on the table.
Yeah. When we say everything, we're honest and transparent. We laid everything.
What does your financial status look like?
Yeah. We laid everything on the table. What is your expectation? Do you cook? Or see, in our relationship, Victoria, obviously she can cook, right? But I have some OCD when it comes to laundry. So I refuse to let her touch the laundry because I can't stand the way she folds clothes.
And that has been my blessing.
It drives me. It drives me crazy how she does it.
Yeah.
But we laid every expectation out. We laid out expectation for in the bedroom, everything. We laid everything out. Like, hey, we're open and honest.
Sorry, I didn't interrupt you. We even were like, divorce isn't an option for us.
And we don't say it either. We've never said it.
I'm leaving you. Divorce is not an option. However, and this is what our conversation, because he brought it up. He's like, divorce is not an option. And I said, okay, however, I'm not just going to be in a marriage just because I'm not going to get a divorce. I'm going to be happily married.
Yeah.
And so he was like, absolutely, those things.
That's
and we both experienced from our backgrounds. There was infidelity with our parents.
Yes.
So one thing that we both said to each other was,
don't even think about it.
Off limits.
It's off if it's over.
Yeah.
That's a no coming back thing for us.
Yeah.
It's
And we were like,
over.
he was like, we both said no adultery, obviously. And we were like, absolutely. And should that happen, just letting you know up front, he was like, this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And I was like, and this is what I'm going to do.
That's good.
So, and I think in having that mindset, it's like
you say, so we said we'll kill each other. That's what we told
No.
That's what we told each other. We told each other, if you do this, I'm going to kill you.
You're dead.
He said, I am going to get you.
Yeah, you won't be cheating again.
I said, I will repent in prison.
And I said, don't even come home.
Yeah.
If you don't come home, I don't know.
Yeah.
But in that moment, I knew I was saying that. But like, obviously, like as time has gone by, it was more of like, I want you to say something. I don't want you to just not come home. Because then I'm like, was he kidnapped? Like, what in the world?
Right.
But I'm grateful for the fact that I've never had to question if he had. I never had to question wandering eyes. I never had to question any of those things because the way in which he loves me. And he does a really, really great job with, I think it just speaks to the person that he is. I don't think that he's like, whatever. I think he's just an amazing human being. And so he has done a great job because at the beginning, it wasn't like I was like, you looking, because like he said, my dad, I was like a serial cheater. He had multiple affairs. And so there were moments in, where it's just like, hey, do you still love me? hit you, whatever. And not that he was doing anything that make me question that, but it was things that I had to work through to be like, hey, what I experienced at home is not my reality here. And he did a really beautiful job of loving me in such a way to where I could just kind of and know that it was going to happen.
Good. And I love that you say that, because I have struggles with that too, with trust. And I think most people do, right?
Mm-hmm.
We all have our reasons, but similar reasons. Like I struggle with trust. And also because I've never been in like a serious relationship where trust wasn't, broken. And so I struggle with that. And then there's this part of me when I do kind of start tiptoeing into dating, it starts rearing up immediately. And I'm like, no, nobody can handle this. Nobody's gonna want to deal with this. Like, I'm already feeling insecure. I'm already worried. I'm already wondering, and we're not even serious yet. Right. And I feel it coming up. And then of course I try to work on it for myself, and I pray about it and do all the things that I know I need to do, because I know it's not their responsibility. But I wonder, like, sometimes I ask myself, okay, is the person that God has for me, are they going to have space for that? Or is it my job to take care of it first? Like, and I wonder, like, do you think that's something that people have to heal before going into a relationship? Or do you think the person God has for you is going to heal with you in that
That's
relationship?
a really good question.
We're firm believers of the Bible, and I had insecurities, right? Coming from what happened with my childhood and everything else. So when we got together, there were moments where she was like, hey, I'm going to Walmart. And I'm like, with who? Who you in Walmart? You know what I mean? Like, and she's like, dude, I'm at the checkout. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it was like, but here's what I've realized. We're called to be helpmates. So when I'm at my weakest, she is there to help me in those moments, and vice versa. So I don't think that nobody goes into a relationship 100%
I know.
whole.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But we've always had communication about everything.
Yeah.
Hey, I've come home and told her, hey, I'm feeling super insecure right now, just going through a rough moment, this and that. And she's like, all right, what do you need? You know what I mean? Like what, and vice versa. And so I think sharing that with the person that you're with, that's what they're called to do, is help, because you're never going to be 100% complete.
Right. That's so
true.
And I can understand where you're coming from. Like, okay, that's marriage, but what about dating? What does that look like?
Yeah. And that's where I ask myself, where's the line? Is this something that I invite them into later if things become serious and I think this is really a person? Or is this something that I have to work on by myself?
Right. I feel like for me, and I feel like if that is something that you or anybody else is aware of, hey, I know this is something that I'm working through, absolutely doing the work and working through that. But also when you are in the relationship or when you enter a new relationship, being aware of that.
Yeah.
And so that when things does arise, you have to step back and ask yourself, okay, is this my insecurity or is this valid red flags?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, and then if it does bleed into, okay, this is a serious relationship, like he said, okay, let me communicate. Hey, this was my past. These are things that I'm working through. So, just want to make you aware of it. I feel like as far as the spouse on the other end is concerned, and we had just talked about this in our recent podcast, baggage in relationships, it's like, okay, yes, it's your responsibility to do the work.
Yeah.
But I feel like the partner in that relationship should be like willing to help.
Yeah, compassion.
Absolutely. Like, okay, I'm not going to create an environment that makes you that more heightened about your insecurities or whatever.
Make you feel more insecure about the insecurity.
Exactly.
I'm here to
support you in your healing. And what does that look like?
And I look at it too. It's like, it sounds crazy when you think about it like this way, right? But if I was diabetic and we're getting together and then she wants to go for ice cream or whatever it is, right? This is going to, this is going to hurt me.
Yeah.
Right. So I have to communicate.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm diabetic. I think it's the same way when you're dating. Hey, there's moments where you have to say, hey, wait a second, this could hurt me. So I have to share with you to tell you this because I don't want, I don't want you to see me in a, diabetic coma or whatever it is. So it's like those things. It's the same exact thing.
Or if you see me going down a road that is going to harm me and I'm just having a blind spot and I'm not aware of it, like, hey, did you take your medicine? Hey,
Yeah.
did you whatever? Hey, are you okay? Hey, I noticed that you're kind of carrying a weight. You know, is there anything you want to talk through? Just being aware in that way. But I do feel like, you know, whoever you end up with, I think that is a positive trait to have in that partner.
Yeah.
And I couldn't imagine, like, honestly, when I see social media now, like,
my
I'm
God.
grateful for Victoria every day of my life. Because in social media, even in the world of social
Mhm.
media,
Yeah.
it's like you are like, you're on people's Instagram or their whatever, and you're only seeing
Yeah,
the
their
best
highlight.
parts of
Mhm.
people.
Yeah.
And I couldn't imagine doing that
Yeah.
and then going out with somebody or going
Mhm.
on a date with somebody, and you're like, this is not the Instagram person
Yeah, exactly.
that I saw.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
You know?
I think I don't struggle to be open about my shortcomings. In
Mhm.
fact, I'm at the stage in life, you know, where I'm like, it's the first thing I want to tell somebody because I just want to be upfront. I want them to know what they're getting into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What the struggle is, and I haven't dated a lot this last couple of years, but in my most recent situation, what I struggled with the most was that this person didn't really know what to do with that.
Mm.
And so that's where I went into, okay, is this me? Are these things that truly are mine to work on? Or if this was the right person for me, would they have more space for it? Because it felt like,
I see what you're saying.
you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
It was like more of like a, you know, like a hesitancy
Yeah.
to, even though I'm being open, communicating clearly, being like patient, understanding with their stuff because I have mine and here's mine.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's almost like it built a wall.
Yeah.
And I don't
Yeah.
even know how to explain it.
Yeah, I would say the right person for you. You know what I mean? So if it's like, hey, this is what I need in a partner. I need someone who's understanding. I need someone when I do share, they're compassionate and aware enough to also be what I need in that moment as well.
Yeah.
I would say, yeah, that's your person. If this person is like, hey, I've communicated and bruh just not getting it, I don't know if this is my person then.
Yeah.
Because these are things that I need. And it wasn't like when Phil and I got together, I don't know about him. I did have what I did want in a spouse.
That's good.
So that when it came, it wasn't like some crazy list, but it was like core characteristic things. I want you to treat me this way. I want this and that and the other. So the fact that if someone were to come up and didn't have those qualities,
you knew that's not it.
Right. So I would say in your situation, like, okay, if that is what you're wanting and needing. If that person isn't displaying that, then no, that isn't your person. But if he is, then I would be, okay, this is possibly he could be my person.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
Did I answer your question?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I think if you share something with somebody, like, and they don't want to be a part of it, then that's the red flag, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And the problem
Because-
is that makes you feel insecure.
Yeah. And it was
Because you're like, wow, I just like opened my heart and exposed my
Yeah.
weakness to
Yeah.
you, and now I'm getting met with distance and
Yeah.
space, and I don't know how to sit with that without making it feel like it's my fault.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
tough because then when you want, then the next person, you're still, and
Yeah.
that's what we talked about in the baggage one, is you're carrying that to
Yes.
the next person.
Yeah.
And that's the filter. So
Yes.
you're like, I know when I share this, here's what
Peop-
I'm going to get,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And so that would be tough.
Yeah. I can only imagine. Like, it's hard to be these emotional creatures. Hey, I'm sharing. And not only did you kind of not help me, but you kind of left me vulnerable and kind of felt
Yes.
rejected.
Yeah.
Exactly. You just put it all in one.
Yeah.
That was exactly it.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that's exactly what happened. That's what it felt like.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what it
100%.
felt like. And that made me go, okay, you know what? Maybe I'm not ready for this. Maybe I don't want to date right now.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think about that. Like, so the wounds that you carried into your relationship, how have you continually healed those things together?
Yeah.
Like, what are the things you did together that were like, got you to this place now where you're like, oh, I fully trust him. I fully trust her. I don't think about that anymore.
You go first.
I would say the communication of it. And then honestly, it's just, we constantly talk about it. It's not, I don't think that even we've been married almost 19 years. There's still moments where I feel insecure and I have to tell her, hey, I'm feeling insecure. So that's what I mean by, I think you're always going to have that come up.
Mm-hmm.
I think the problem sometimes that couples do or people do is they don't share that.
Mm-hmm.
They just suppress it or they just put it down and then it adds to it. Where we talk about it. Like, we're open about it.
Yeah.
We're like, so I think she's helped me heal so much from what I came from. And it wasn't like it was anything major or bad or anything like that. It was just a moment that happened where one of my parents, it was infidelity. And so it struck me in my mind.
Yeah.
And so I
Of
didn't know it
course.
was there until it would
Until
show
it comes
up.
up.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then it's
Yeah.
like, you know, it's what I've told people. It's like, you don't know you had childhood trauma until you're an adult.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to deal with the child.
Yes.
And so it's
Mm.
like, you didn't know it was there
Yeah.
until later.
It's so
Yeah.
true.
But if she's supposed to be my helpmate, then it's like, all right, I need help. I don't know how to do this.
Yeah.
And I went through probably about 5 years ago, I think it was 5 or 6 years ago, I went through depression, anxiety, panic attacks, and everything else. And for a while, I didn't tell her because I didn't know what was happening. And then finally, I just had to break. And it was like, and she's like, all right, what do you need me to do? And I'm like, I'm not really sure. I don't know how to do, but how she loved me through that was like one day at a time, sometimes 1 hour at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, oh, so that kind of solidified even more love for her and more like of a foundation that we have.
So you almost like regained a new sense of love for each
Yeah, it's
other,
like
even
another
after all
side of
these
love you
years.
didn't know was there. And then it's like I've told her before, I was like, you are literally, she's like woven into who I am now. It's like we are like,
You're one.
and I'm not, yeah, it's, I can't explain it.
She's your person.
And that's what I told her. I said, I never thought in my life that I would have a person that was just for me. And that's who she is.
Mm.
So for me, I take that very, very seriously. So I'm like, okay, if she was just for me, then what she goes through, I have to be compassionate and I have to be, and it never crosses my mind to go with somebody else or to get, it just never, because I'm like, no, I found the person that I know is for me. And it's like, okay, now I just have to fight my kids all the time.
For her attention.
Yeah.
That was very sweet. I feel the same way, babe. He's so sweet.
Mm-hmm.
I would say for me, like he said, the same thing. Like mine started to pop up when you're put in situations that, okay, crap. All right, I'm dealing with this. I'm dealing with that from childhood or whatever. Believe it or not, the first time it happened, he was aware. Because he was just like, because I gave a response that wasn't needed. I kind of snapped. And so, and so he was just like, hey, you know, and it was literally like, hey, listen, I'm not going to do what that particular parent did. You're safe. You're okay. And so for me, it's like, okay, when he did that, that was my first, like, my red flag. Okay, Victoria, there's something going on here. And so as years have gone by and things have popped up, I think it created a self-awareness in me to say, okay, what is this? Why am I feeling this way? Why is this happening? And if I wasn't aware in those moments, he would be.
Yeah.
Because of him just knowing me. Like,
Yeah.
hey, Victoria, why do you think you've been doing this lately? And I'm just like, oh, I don't know. Let me dive deep into that. Let me journal that. Let me ask questions or whatever. And so I think just being aware when it comes up and then him, like I said, saying it as well. And then not just sitting in that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's one thing to be aware of it. And then there's another thing to make an excuse for it.
Yeah.
And so I'm just like, okay, well, I don't want him to have that experience me, but I also don't want to carry this anymore because it's like when you're carrying past trauma, unaddressed past trauma, I feel like it has control over you without you knowing it.
100%. I think it literally like dictates every decision you make.
Exactly.
Every way you respond.
Exactly.
And if you're not aware of it, it's even worse.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
so
everything gets filtered through it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so when
everything.
Oh, I apologize. I didn't mean to interrupt you. So when I'm like jump rope, let me get in. And so for me, like 2 years ago, and God bless his heart, he would say stuff like, babe, you have a really bad habit of suppressing. I'm like, what you talking about? I don't suppress. And he eventually was just like, whatever you're not going to deal with, we'll deal with you. And it wasn't that, in my mind, I thought, I am addressing these things, but there was stuff deep down, Ashley, that I didn't know was there until I was put in situations and I was triggered and it would come out. And I didn't have in that moment the forethought enough to be like, okay, where is this coming from? I was aware of the other stuff, but where's this coming from?
Mm-hmm.
And about 2 years ago, I think it just all came to a head.
Wow.
And so it was like, I was like, okay, I don't want whatever this is to have control over me and dictate. And so I started my journey through being more intentional with like therapy and everything like that. But like he said, me communicating, but also him being aware enough to be like, okay, what do you need? How can I help? And I feel like when you're in a relationship and you're dealing with someone who is struggling in that area, like we said before, the goal is to help create an environment. And I get it. It can be hard. Like, especially when you love that person.
Yeah.
It's hard not to feel what they're feeling.
Yeah. You would think.
You know what I mean? And I mean, I feel it to the degree that you're feeling it because I love you and I feel the weight of what you're dealing with, it's hard for me.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Like, you know, your child, they deal with somebody at school that you want to fight.
Yeah, you want to defend them.
Right, you know.
Yeah.
But just like, okay, what do we need to do to where I'm helping you or vice versa, but I'm also not getting lost in helping you.
Yeah, that's so important. I always have to tell my friends this, I tell myself this, or I remind myself at the time, like, I'm not someone's savior.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I try to be. Like, sometimes I go into dating relationships and it's almost like, how can I help this person be the best person they would ever be? Reach all their full potential, be the best thing that's ever happened to them. Like, it's like I suddenly go in wanting to be their everything all the time, do everything for them, help them. Like, and it's like, what am I doing?
Mm-hmm.
I have to, I'm not even there yet. You know, I haven't even done that for myself. So what am I doing?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think you're robbing them of who you are.
Yeah.
Because you're so, I am, whenever we talk to people or I do like premarital counseling or stuff like that, I'm like, I don't like the term when people is like, it's like the better half or they complete me. It's like, no, you're a whole person.
Yeah.
You're not a half a person. You're a whole person. And so when you get that to where you're trying to like heal the other person, you're not being yourself.
It's so true.
And so it establishes from day one that it's all about the other person. And then the minute that you realize, oh my gosh, this is all about it's all about them. And then you're like, yeah, but what about me? You've already trained people to, now you bring up your, you bring up your stuff.
No, this was about me. You made it about me.
Yeah. And it's like, we've been dating for 6 months. It's been all about me. Now we got to talk about you.
I don't have space for you. No.
And so I think that's what happens. And people don't realize that. Yeah. So you have people who are like, oh, I want to help them. I want to help them. But you're not helping them.
Yeah,
you're actually hurting the relationship or you're hurting the person. And it's like, I've told people, it's like, you have to tell people the truth, even at the cost
of losing
them, right? Or the cost of a true friend will tell you the truth, even at the cost of the friendship. So it's like, you got to tell people the truth and you have to be yourself because otherwise months down the road, you're a totally different person. So what happened with us was for being friends for so long, we were just our normal selves.
Yeah.
So we kind of knew.
There were no mask up.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't like she was just trying to impress me or vice versa.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to lie. I mean, when he was dealing with the anxiety, that was hard because that was new.
Yeah.
I never had anybody in my family deal with that. And it was like, there were moments where we could be in a group outing and we're all riding the same vehicle. And I could see his body like tensing up in position. And I'm like, you know, I would grab his knee or his hand, like breathe, like silently, it's gonna be, you know. And so there were moments where I'm just like, do I not tell him this? Because is it gonna send it? Do I say this? Is it gonna, you know what I mean? And so now I'm feeling like I'm walking on eggshells in those moments, like you said, you know, we're Christians first. So in those moments where I felt like it was overwhelming, or if I felt like it did start to affect me, I would have to step back and be like, hey, I'm not God. Yeah. And I would ask God, hey, I need your help in this situation. What does he need? How can I be a help without taking on? It's like, it's not my responsibility to heal you. It's not my responsibility to do the work for you. But I do want to be a safe place for you as well.
That's so good.
So praying through that helps as well.
So you also do marriage counseling and premarital counseling. So I'm curious, just because, I mean, if you're doing premarital counseling, then obviously you understand probably a lot about the dating world now too. What do you think are the signs that a person is the right fit for you? Because I'm sure you see couples that come in that you think this is good, and then there's probably times where they come in and you're like, I don't know that this is the right.
We've had those
Yeah.
conversations. We've got
But
down
what
with
are
their
you
premarital.
seeing that they're not seeing about each other? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, do you think that there are actual signs that two people are really supposed to be together, or at least would be right for each other, that people should be looking for when they're dating?
The first question. Oh,
go ahead.
The first question. I don't feel like I ever walked away and say that's not your person.
Okay.
Because I can't say that. That's not your person. I may have had moments where we walked away and I say, I don't know if they're ready yet. To get married.
Okay.
You know what I mean? There's still some things they need to work through individually and as a couple wise to work, you know. I have done that and walking away. I would say some red flags is like what you mentioned. Hey, I'm expressing a need, an emotional moment, and you're missing it or you're not.
Ignoring it,
dismissing it, ignoring it, or you aren't helping me in a way that I need.
Yeah.
And if I've tried to communicate that with you and you're just refusing to, that's a red flag. I feel like if the person is very much so about themselves and their world and it's always me, I feel like that's a red flag.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's the degree of selfishness. So whether it's a premarital or it's marriage counseling, it's the degree of selfishness by which people are operating. So there's sometimes it's not, I don't know. I honestly don't know. Like I could say with us, it's like, yeah, absolutely. I found the one person on the planet that I'm supposed to be with for the rest of my life. Do I know that that's like a thing?
Right.
No, I don't know if that is, but I do know that selfishness is real. And we walked away from working with couples and been like, he is extremely selfish. And that's going to be really hard, you know? And even in marriage counseling, most of the time, what ends up happening when people come to us is what happens. People just started getting selfish. And it's like, we have to tell people, if you wake up every morning and that person is the most important thing to you and vice versa, you'll have a healthy marriage.
Yeah.
And I get it. Like, you know, I mean, it's twofold. It's like, I can understand part of it. Sometimes I feel like selfishness, and that's what he's probably saying the degrees of. Sometimes I feel like selfishness is really from fear. It's the fear of, if I care for you and do for you,
right,
I lose myself.
Or what does that mean for me, or whatever the case may be. And so sometimes that is what it's responding.
Yeah.
But I feel like, you know, a lot of times in dating, not all across the board, because sometimes people aren't aware of those red triggers because of maybe they're used to past trauma or past dysfunction. So when they see it again, it's normal for them. But a lot of times I do feel like people see it. They choose to ignore it out of a desire to be with someone and not be alone.
Yeah.
And that's a dangerous place to be.
Yeah.
It sure is. I can say in my own experience, I spent a lot of time on my own, healing my own stuff that I knew I needed to heal, childhood things that were coming up. But I was like, this isn't good. This isn't going to work in a relationship. You know, like I got to work on these things. And I got so comfortable in that space. So when I tipped my toes into dating again, I didn't realize how lonely I was until I started doing that. Because I was just like, I wanted to latch on. I was like, oh, I missed this. I missed having someone to talk to. I missed having someone to go do things with. And it's like I went from one side of the swing way over to the other, thinking I was so totally fine on my own. I love being single. I'm great. I don't need anyone. I don't want anyone. I love my alone time. I like doing things by myself too. I really want all of this and I really want it now. And it, you know, it can be scary to someone who's like probably in a healthier place where they're like, they're ready, but they're good, you know? And I thought I was, you know, and that scared me because I still don't know what to do with that. I was like, okay, nope, never mind. Back to isolation.
Yeah. You know, I don't know, because I know a little bit of your story. So I don't know what I would do. Man, to have it and to have the way you had it and then trying to maneuver coming back from it and coming back to a healthy relationships and everything like that. I know that when I was single, for me, I think I was in that space like before I met Phil. I wanted somebody so bad. And so, you know, you attract the pretty boys or whatever the case is. And so when you would not saying from experience, when you would see certain things that just was not good, it was like, it doesn't matter because I'm not alone, or this person likes me, or he thinks I'm pretty, or whatever. And so I think the eye opener for me was whenever I would walk away from a situation dealing with someone and it made me feel less than or depleted. Those were red flags for me. And so it's like, because it reminded me of feelings that I felt when I was at home. And so I was like, okay, Victoria, I don't want to feel this.
Yeah.
So whatever you need to do for me, it was like, whatever I need to do to put myself in a secure place to where I take my power back and I can be aware of those things. I can be okay with being by myself. I'm going to work on this and that and the other, because I don't want someone to be able to dictate my mood and my emotions.
I know, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And so that's what I just did. I just started working on me in that way, developing my relationship with God. And I feel like in doing that, I felt like I was able to recognize red flags quicker. And I was at peace in being single. I was okay. Like, my mindset before we knew that we were supposed to get married and stuff, I was okay if I was going to be single for the rest of my life.
Yeah. I got to that place,
Yeah.
I thought. Like, I really did. I was in the best place. Like, I was so happy, so grateful, so joyful. I was just like, I felt like my relationship with God was so strong. And like, I just, in so much gratitude, I was crying every day because I was just so grateful just to be alive. And like, I didn't need anybody. And like, I just felt like, wow, I'm finally there. And then I wasn't. And then somebody came in my life that I was like, this could be it. Like, this could be it. Like, all the things that I'd been praying for, you know, and then it wasn't. It wasn't, or what wasn't the right time. I don't know. But it knocked me so far off of that place, the peace that I was in, that I was like, was I ever in peace, or was I like delusional? Like,
man, that's tough.
You know?
Yeah.
I think you were probably in peace. The hard part is just when things like that happen, there's triggers that happen in people's lives.
Yes.
And then it triggers them of past traumas and all these things that happen. And so it's kind of like when I first got saved, I just stayed in my apartment all day long and I just read the Bible all the time. Right. And I thought, it was awesome. But I also thought I was the best Christian ever because I had no interactions with people. So it was like,
I'm doing everything.
Yeah. I was like, I'm this whole book. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm good to go.
Exactly.
And then I got involved in the church and started being around people. And it's like, these people are crazy. You know what I'm saying? And so, but it didn't take away from the fact of I was in peace. Now I have to realize, hey, there's another level to it.
Yeah.
And I can't lose what I was before.
Yeah.
I can't lose that. I just have to add to it.
Yeah.
So in the minute I would get around the wrong people or whatever, I could recognize it and say, hey, I'm not going down that path. So love you.
So discernment.
Yeah. Love you. But that's not the path I'm going to go on.
Yeah. That's so good.
I think it's discernment. And I also think it's intentional of thought, right? Because even through my healing process, I have been there. Like, I'm like, oh, I'm good. I'm healed. And
I've made
it. And then something will happen and I'm like, dang it.
I didn't.
It's still there. And I really feel like it's like I'm gonna reference a Disney. Is it a Disney movie? Shrek. The donkey.
I don't know if it's Disney, but whatever it is.
Anyways, sorry if I was wrong. But anyways, the movie Shrek, where the donkey's like, it's layers, onions, like an onion has layers. I feel like that's what it is. I feel like, okay, like he said, okay, I've passed this level.
That's so good.
Something else has happened. That's just showed me, okay, there's another layer that needs to be worked through.
Yep.
And so when the thoughts come like, dang it, I thought I was farther. No, I have come a far away. I'm still good. There's just some other things that I'm still like working through to where, you know what I mean? If that makes sense.
You made it through level 1.
Yes.
Now we're at level 2.
Now
You
we're
gotta
at the next
conquer
layer.
this.
It's not a bad thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
It just is the next thing.
And you have to be
So
intentional with
good.
thought with that until, and I'm speaking to myself, intentional with thought with that until it gets to a place to where it's second nature. You have to replace the old second nature with the new second nature. Where the old second nature was like, dang it, I'm falling back, whatever.
You're so right.
The new second nature is, until it's, whatever is, hey, that doesn't mean this.
Yeah, you're okay.
It's okay.
Yeah.
This is what's happened. gonna keep moving.
Yeah, you're so right. Are there like specific things when you have people coming in for premarital counseling? Are there specific things that you think are foundational for them before going into marriage? Like that you to work with them on. Like these are the things that are going to be absolutely necessary as you're dating and courting and getting to know one another to lead to a healthy marriage.
Well, we tell people really most marriage fights come down to three things, right? In most relationships, like in marriages, they only come down to three things. It's communication, sex, and money. Mm. So everything always comes back to those three things. Communication is first because it's the foundation of any type of relationship, right? Mm-hmm. Trust, communication. Yeah. But really, they only come down to those three things. Mm. And so it's like when we deal with couples that are, not doing well, it usually comes down to those three things, somewhere along the lines. And we've seen couples that they communicate well, they have money, but their intimate life is completely shot. Mm. And then one of them will go sleep with the tennis coach or whatever it is. You know what I mean? Or, they've got money and their sex life is great, but they don't talk.
Yeah, so they're not close.
They don't even know each other. Yeah. And maybe they have kids. And so the kids are what's keeping them. I told her after COVID, we did more marriage counseling than before. Because during COVID, people were stuck with each other.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you were used to take, exactly. You were used to taking people to practice, kids to practice, then to job, blah, blah. Now all of a sudden it's like, who are you? Yeah. And so when it came back from that, we dealt with it the most. But really, honestly, even in premarital, that's what we talk about are those three things. Wow. And it's like, well, should you talk about all? Yeah, 100%. Like she said, where are you at financially? Are we getting married and you're going to spring on me that night? I'm 15 grand in debt.
Yeah.
And now our debt's together. You know what I'm saying?
Asked for that.
Right. It's like, maybe you should have mentioned that beforehand at any point. So it's like, it's communicating. It's communicating. What do you like? What you don't like? Are you a morning person? Mm. I'm a morning person.
Listen, that's real.
Is it? Okay.
Oh, it's real. It's 100% real. I wake up in the morning and I'm ready to have conversations.
Birds chirping.
Yeah.
What is
that? And Victoria is always like, dude, I just got up.
We will be riding in the car and he's like, blah, 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 and I'm like, he's like, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, I just woke up.
You're like, my brain isn't even turned on.
Give me about 10 minutes. And even still, as long as we've been married, he would be like, and I'm like, give me 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Please. Let this computer switch on.
You know what I'm saying? And so
but I will go to Victoria as a night person.
Yeah. I just recently saw this thing on Instagram and it says two types of people marry each other. Oh my gosh, it's 10 p.m. Oh my gosh, it's 10 p.m.
Like, yes, that's so true.
So, but if you don't know that, and now all of a sudden and
every morning you think she's mad at you, and she's not mad at you at all. She just hasn't woke up yet, and so she's not ready. And so now you're hurt. The whole day sucks because you think she's mad at you. So you say something snippy to her. So now she's like, what did I do? I'm just waking up and now you're already mad at me.
Yeah. Or she thinks she married a crazy person. It's like, what is wrong with this?
I think you hit the nail on the head. Communication isn't just me saying and vocalizing. It's the way in which we do it as well. Mm-hmm. I can't just be brutally honest and tear you down and be like, well, I communicated. Like,
I told you what I felt.
Told you.
Right.
That's not my fault. Directly. You took it bad.
Right. How you take it is on you.
Right.
Which is what a lot of people do.
Yeah. But I think that's the key is as long as you talk about that, all that stuff. Mm-hmm. It's like you talk about everything. We talk about everything.
Good. That's so good.
Like, it's like, hey man, this annoys me. Or hey, this bothers me. One thing that we did a good job of is we use the term the way it's coming across. Mm-hmm. So I never say you're being rude or you're being selfish. Mm-hmm. It's, hey, the way it's coming across is that you're being selfish.
Or you're not listening.
Or the way you're saying that makes me feel.
Yeah.
Right. So now I'm not accusing you of being something.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not accusing you of being something. I'm just telling you the way it's coming across to me.
Mm-hmm.
So now if
Mm.
she says that to me, I have to think, okay, is that my frustration of the day?
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I'm acting the way I'm acting?
Mm-hmm.
Or, it's like she told me something. I always tell people, she told me this years, it was probably like 5 years ago. Yeah. And it changed my entire thought process. We were either in an argument or we were talking or something. And she said, hey, when you do that, it makes me feel blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, don't feel that way because that's not the way I meant it. And then she paused for a second. She said, you cannot tell me how they feel. They're my feelings. And for whatever reason, the light bulb went off and I thought, you know what? She's right.
I can't tell her how to feel.
I can't tell her how to feel. Yeah. It's like, I've never thought about that before. But it's like, I didn't think about that until 4 or 5 years ago. And we've been married for 14 years by that time. But it was just that light bulb that went off that I was like, she's right. I can't tell her how to feel. So now, hey, the way it's coming across. And it doesn't put the other person. I think once you start putting people on the defensive, now we're just trying to prove points and people just listen to respond and not to understand. And so once people are doing that, it's tough.
You're so right. Because you both want the same.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's so good. That makes me really reevaluate a lot of things I've said to people before. Like going, hey, you did this. Instead of like, hey, this is what it felt like was happening for me. And this is how I felt. Like that would be so much easier for someone to hear as opposed to being like, you did this and you did that. And that's why I feel like this. Like that it's not helpful.
And we just don't do it we do it with our boys.
That's good.
So that they have, and they'll tell us, hey, the way you're coming across is that you're, you know what I mean? And you're like, first of all, why are you so smart? But we do that in relationships. Hey, and if people just did that in general, like your boss or anybody else, it's like, hey, the way that's coming across is, it changes stuff.
And there's also wisdom and timing. You know what I mean? If there's, depending on certain conversations, yes, I can just say whatever. But, I think being aware of the person that you're in a relationship with, whether it's a spouse or a friend or a child or whomever, recognizing what I know to be true about this person, if I do need to have this type of conversation with them, when would be the best timing? What does that look like? Probably when they come home from work, or if they seem already agitated, that's probably not the best time to communicate that. Like we just had a situation with one of our boys, and they've been teenagering hard, and so so it's like we communicated, and we let it breathe for a couple of days. They were already doing stuff. We get it. It's hard being a teenager in these days, But when we saw, okay, not to say they dictate stuff in our home. That's not what we're saying. But like when we saw that he was in a space to really hear it this time. Because sometimes when we communicate, it does sound like a broken record. Like, how many times do I got to say this to you? But when we saw, okay, his receptiveness is really, I don't think that's a word, but either way, when I know what you mean. Yeah, when he was really open to receiving what we were about to say, we knew he would be. Hey, while we're on this subject, and so it is. I think it's also important, the timing and how we say things too.
Yeah, take the emotion out of it.
Yeah, that's so true.
She's great at that because I am a flash in the moment. I can get mad, and then 5 minutes later, I'm just like, where are we going to eat?
I've never wondered.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Really?
It's like,
5 minutes ago, you were there.
Yeah. It's like,
we don't even want to be around you right now.
And Victoria is like an internal processor, and she'll be like, you have to give me a minute.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I am very much like, is a minute over?
Yes, he does.
Like, I'm really sorry.
I said I was sorry. Can we move on now?
And he's so charming. He does this, like this little voice or whatever, and I'm just be like looking at him side eye. Not gonna work this out.
Yeah. But it's in the moment. I think it's like you have to take the emotion out of it. So when you're in a heated moment, that's where it's like, all right, let's calm down. Because Victoria's really big about, hey, we got to calm down. Let's take a step away.
That's smart.
We're going to come back and address it because you can't just leave it.
Yeah.
But we're going to come back and address it when the emotion's out of it. And we can say, hey, the way that came across was this and this and this.
Or just even approaching the topic logically. Because like you said, when you get emotions involved, sometimes you're no longer processing.
Yeah,
Maybe you
100%.
switch now to your defense and you're not hearing the other person in that moment.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, I'm starting to get worked up. All right, now I'm like trying not to go there, you know, let me breathe and calm down and let me come back. And I don't wait for days. I come back in the same day, typically.
Yeah.
But it didn't start off that way. So we did not start off that way.
Work
So
in progress.
Yeah.
so this one time, I asked Victoria out on a date. And I was like, hey, do you want to go on a date? And she's like, oh my gosh, yes. So we like go on a date and we go to this restaurant and we're eating. And I brought some stuff up to her and said, hey, this, and this. And she's very intelligent. And she said, wait a second. Did you bring me to this restaurant because you thought I was going to make a scene? And I was like, yes. And she's eating and she's like, okay, that's well done. You know what I mean? Like, well done. So, but it's a different space, right? It's not in the moment. It's a different space to where you can be calm. And we can have a
heard, I don't
conversation.
know if this is true. You can tell me. Somebody, where did I hear this? They said the best time to address hard things with the person you love is when you're walking and moving. Like, because
I never thought about that.
you're not like, I don't know why, but something about like your emotions aren't as heightened because your body is moving and like you're processing other things as you go. Like, and so it makes it that both people can be more in a calm state and like while movement is happening.
I have to be aware
I
of
am
that.
a people person, so probably that wouldn't work for me because I would be, if I saw people, I'd be like, she's pouring her heart out, and I'm like, hey,
Phil
how's it
knows no
going?
stranger.
So I probably, that wouldn't work well for me. It does make sense though.
Maybe like if there wasn't anyone,
Yeah.
you're on a walk in
Yeah.
the evening together.
Yeah,
like,
that does make sense.
Okay, not to switch it up on you guys, but I want to get your what you think of this topic. Have you ever heard of like, don't give someone wife treatment if they're not your wife yet, or don't give someone husband treatment if they're not your husband yet?
Gotcha.
Do you know what? Have you heard of that?
I do. And I'm going to say I am a firm believer of that.
Okay. Because that happens. So I struggle with this.
Okay.
Because when I meet someone and I genuinely think, okay, I'm ready to just, I would get married tomorrow.
Well, let's classify.
So I'm ready. I'm like, come over for dinner. I'm cooking for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll do anything.
Okay. I was.
But that is giving
Well,
someone wife treatment when they haven't earned that yet.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. Let me get some
Technically speaking.
details. What are we classifying as the wife details?
So they say that wife treatment is basically like when you're dating someone and you're cooking for them, you're basically you're acting like a wife.
Yeah.
Like you
Yeah.
are like taking the position of a wife where you're fully supporting them. You're fully engaged in their life. You're cooking.
Gotcha.
You're doing everything that a wife would do for their husband, but they're not your husband yet.
Yeah. I feel like there's a balance. If when we first got together, no. I ain't cooking for you. No, sir. No. But as we, were longer in our relationship, I cooked for him like once when we were, just to let him know what he gonna get. I'm just gonna let you know I can cook, but don't expect this.
Yeah.
While we're dating a lot.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I like
But that was just me. I think, if it's in a long-term relationship, I can understand that. I could see certain wifey things that I'm gonna give you.
It's
I'm not
like
gonna
pacing.
give you. Yeah. I'm not gonna give you all wifey things until you make me your wife.
Yeah.
But certain things I don't mind. I cook random. I'm not doing your laundry.
Right.
That's for me.
That's not gonna happen.
I'm not doing your
regardless for me,
laundry.
but, like,
I'm not coming to clean your house.
Right.
Like if you ask me, like I'll help you, but I'm not gonna do it for you.
yeah.
Like little things like that. What do you think?
Yeah, I think there's probably levels to it, but I think that if you're not careful and you go to that right off the bat, again, I think you're setting a precedent then for like, and then you get mad 6 months later when they're like, they don't seem very grateful.
Or they're just like, I don't really care about this relationship anymore. I've gotten everything I could possibly want.
That part.
Yeah. Or they continue just to keep stringing along because it's like,
Well, this is
okay,
great.
well, this is great. This is this is great. And then you're like, well, wait a second.
Right.
It's like, so I think there's levels to it.
Yeah.
I think you have to be like, we've always heard, we were joking about this the other day, is like you dating someone for all 4 seasons. Because I just said this in our podcast. It's like people get crazy in the winter. And so it's like, you want to know, you know what I'm saying? You're stuck indoors.
Don't
and
start
it's cold
dating someone in the winter
right.
is what I'm going to say.
Yeah. It's like, date them for all 4 seasons.
Yeah.
And
Start in
see how
spring.
they are. And so I would say pace yourself.
Yeah, and the
Like-
seasons isn't just like obviously the weather, but the season is also like, how do you handle hardship?
Yeah.
How do you handle this, thing, that?
Confrontation.
But as far as like I agree. That's why I said certain things, depending on how long we've been dating, I'll do. But I'm not giving you everything. If you want all of that, you put a ring on it.
Yeah.
And make it official. Because sometimes you give me the
Oh,
ring
yeah.
and that strings you along even longer.
Mm-hmm.
No, I need that commitment.
Yeah.
If you want,
You're in this.
you in
or
this,
You're not.
right?
Yeah.
I agree with that. Okay. And then the final thing I want to know, what is your definition of love? Actual love. In comparison to the way that people look at love now and treat love now. You can do the first part and then we can go into the second part. What is your definition of love when it comes to relationship?
Yeah. I think love is grace. I think love is patience. I think love is understanding. I think love is sometimes sacrifice. But yet love is also very much so like when done well and right, it's also very comforting and makes you feel all good and warm inside.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Show it first. I would say my definition of love, that's a great question. That I've never really really thought about. But I would say this is understanding that I'm flawed. Right. So the understanding and compassion and sympathy with understanding that she has flaws, but it's loving someone past those, and it's like, that's my thing is just, we're big on it. Like I said, selfishness of not being selfish and thinking of the other person. When I wake up in the morning, I think, hey, what's going to make her day easier? I'll ask her every day, do you want coffee? Because some days she drinks it and some days she doesn't, which also throws off my schedule because I have a schedule. But it's like, I think it's it's the constant thinking of the other person.
Consideration.
Yeah. It's like just understanding that no one's perfect. People make mistakes. People say things they don't mean. People get frustrated. People get upset. They say things they don't mean. So you just kind of, look past it.
Being able to look at that person and go, I see the good in you first. And I know that this isn't who you are all the time. It's just right now. But I know that this is who you want to be. And I'm going to, yeah.
But not forcing you to get there.
Yeah. But I'm going to have grace for you while you're here to get back here.
Exactly. And I think that's the thing. As long as they're working on it.
Yeah, exactly. There's a difference in
There's
people
a huge
who have
difference.
flaws and aren't aware of their flaws or accountable for them.
Yeah.
Right.
Love is saying yes, choosing to say yes. Yep. I'm going to do that. Yep. I love you. Yep. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. So good. Do you have what would be like, we'll just pretend like your boys are here. What would be the advice you would give them when it's time for them to look for love and they're in a place in their life and they're going, okay, I'm ready to find my person. What would you sit them down and what would you say to them before they go out into the world to find that?
It's funny because we did just have this conversation with our oldest. The advice that I gave him in that moment was, it's okay to be who you are and not feel the need to change who you are because you want someone.
That's good.
So whoever you're supposed to be with will love you who you are as you are. Yeah. You should be able to show up who you are as you are.
Oh, that's good.
And they love that too. Yeah. So that is the advice I would give them. Don't bend back on your boundaries for someone, and be aware of how you want to receive love so that you can be able to communicate it.
That's so good.
Yeah. I mean, that is what she told him. And I was nodded at that time too. Like, yeah, that's really good. But it's not, we just told him, don't change who you are. Don't stop being you because you want to be with somebody, because then you're not being truthful to that person.
Self-abandoning.
Right. You're not being who you are. Yeah, you got issues you got to work through, and you know what I mean? And you have to grow as a person, but don't start changing who you are.
Yeah. Because that's not it.
Because it won't, whatever you compromise to keep, you'll lose eventually.
That's so good.
So it's like, you're
Say
going
that again.
Whatever you compromise to keep, you will lose eventually. So it's like, don't compromise who you are, because down the road, you're going to end up losing it anyway. So just be who you are, and that person will love you for who you are.
If they're the right one.
If they're the person for you, then they'll love you for who you are. And you're not going to have to, everybody. And it's so crazy because like the conversation we had with our oldest is like, everybody's dating, right? Like they're in high school and everybody wants that, to be around that person. But it's like, hey, just wait.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
And the right person will love you for exactly who you are.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's okay to take your time. Don't rush it, because if you want something bad enough, you're going to get something bad. So
say that again.
If you want something bad enough, you're going to get something bad.
Whew.
Yeah.
So
wish I'd have heard that before.
But, that is what we told him. Like, in our youngest as well, like, it's okay. Don't succumb to the pressure of the world that says you have to be in a relationship. You have to be in a relationship.
Yeah.
It's okay. Let it breathe. I get sometimes you can feel lonely, and I get sometimes it's hard, and I fully understand that, and I empathize with that. However, it's okay to take your time, because whoever that person is worth waiting for.
That's so true.
Yeah.
And you're worth waiting for.
Absolutely.
If you're in that season and someone sees you as like potentially you're worth waiting for too.
Yes. Just keep growing and developing who you are as a person. And baby, when it is time, it's just
there's nothing anyone can do to. Yeah.
And you can't change them. Like that's the other thing.
No, that's it.
It's like you can't.
And if you
change.
want to, that's a good indication.
It's not. Or if you think that they need changing, that's the good indication. It's like, all right, well, I could change these things. Potential. Yeah. It's like, okay, if you have to change some of that stuff, emotional things, it's not.
You're so right.
It's already not compatible.
Yeah. If you're like a phenomenal communicator and they're just not, and they're not willing to work on it, and that's not even something they think is a problem.
Yeah.
It's not gonna. Yeah. But you'll compromise and be like, okay, I'll just stay with them because they're super nice.
They'll get better.
And then 5 years
They'll
later,
change.
you're sitting in a room with somebody and you're like, they never talk. And it's like, well, you knew they didn't talk 5 years ago.
Yeah, they told you.
Yeah.
But they don't see a problem with it. And here we are. Yeah,
Yeah.
You're so right. You're so right. That's so good. Well, thank you guys so much. Like, this is my favorite thing about having a podcast. I only have people on that I know are going to help me heal too, which may be a little selfish, but I know if it's helping me, it's got to help somebody else, right?
Oh,
you know, and I know you guys have so much wisdom, and I love your story, and we'll probably have to have you back on so we can talk more about like all the other stuff.
Yeah. For sure.
But I just think you're such a great example of what marriage should look like, and love looks like, and healthy love looks like.
Thank you.
And it's inspiring to me, and I'm sure Ree and anyone else that's in this world on their own right now. But like, you give people like me and like a lot of my viewers just the hope that this is real.
Yeah.
This does exist.
It does.
And it's hard to find, and it's hard to hold on to, and it's easy to lose hope. So I'm just so grateful for you guys for doing all the things that we should do in relationship, and being such a strong example of that. So thank you.
Well, thank you. And thank you for having us on. We had so much fun. You're a beautiful person inside and out.
Oh, thank you.
So we always love, anytime we get time with you.
Oh, stop it. Stop it. This is where we heal.
She's like, no, come tell me more.
No, I love you guys so much. I appreciate it. And again, if you don't follow them already, you can find them on Instagram, Phil and Victoria Clemens. You both have your own Instagram pages, but you also have Love Encompassed podcast as well.
Yes.
And they can find that on YouTube.
Yes.
Yep.
And
Spotify
and Apple and Instagram. So you guys have to check it out, especially whether you're married or you're looking to get married or you're dating or you're single. They have so much good stuff that you can get wisdom from. So go find them, check them out. You're going to love them, and have a great day.